Today, we are going to cover on a foundation of internal auditing of study unit 1. Are you ready to start? Grab your pen and paper and let's get started. Now, if you are ready, let's get into it. Having a certified internal auditor provides several benefits, including increased credibility as an internal auditor, professional, and a competitive edge over peers who are not certified. Certification demonstrates a high level of knowledge and expertise in the field of internal auditing. In today's job market, employers often prioritize candidates with certifications and professional credentials. Certified internal auditors have a distinct advantage in job searches and promotions, as well as in negotiations for salary and benefits. As a conclusion, obtaining certification is essential and ensures that internal auditors remain up to date with the latest regulations, best practices in the industry. To maintain their certification, internal auditors must complete ongoing continuing education and ongoing professional development, which ensures that they stay current and relevant in their field. This is an important highlight which is need to be considered. Study 1, which is Foundation of Internal Auditing, make up 50% of Part 1 of the CIA examination and is tested at the basic and proficient cognitive levels. Let's look into Unit 1, International Professional Practices Framework. The Institute of Internal Auditor defined the mission of internal audit as to enhance and protect organizational value by providing risk-based and objective assurance, advice, and insight. Facilitating the achievement of this mission is the IPPF. And the IPPF consists of mandatory guidance and recommended guidance. In this presentation slide is actually to explain about what are the 4 pillars in the mandatory guidance and also recommended guidance. For the core principle, mandatory 1 consists of 10 elements, which is demonstrate integrity, demonstrate competency and professional care, independent, objective, and free from undue influence, align with strategy objective, risk of organization, appropriately position and adequately resource, demonstrate quality and continuous improvement, communicates effectively, provide risk-based assurance, insightful, proactive, future focus, and promotes organizational improvement. Second mandatory guidance is about definition of internal auditing. Internal auditing is an independent, objective assurance consulting activity which is designed to add value and improve organization operations. It helps an organization accomplish its objectives by bringing systematic and disciplined approach to improve and evaluate and improve effectiveness of risk management, control, and governance processes. Third mandatory guidance is about code of ethics. which consists of 4 rules of conduct, which is integrity, objectivity, confidentiality, and competency. We will go detail about this code of ethics, rules of conduct. And the mandatory 4, which is standard, consists of 4 types of standard, which is attribute standard, performance standard, interpretations, and implementation standard. Attribute standards is described about the characteristic organization and parties which provide the internal auditing services. Performance standard describe nature of auditing and provide quality criteria for evaluation of internal audit performance. Interpretations of attribute or performance standard are provided by the IIA to clarify terms and concepts. And finally, we have implementation standard, which is applied to the specific type of engagement. And on the other hand, we have recommended guidance, which consists of 3 main elements, which is implementation guidance, recommended guidance, and supplemental guidance. Let's move on to the unit 2. It's about purpose, authority, responsibility of IAA, Internal Audit Activity. The purpose of internal audit activity is to provide independent objective assurance and consulting services, which is designed to add value and improve organizations' operation. And internal audit activities is divided into 2 types. One is assurance services, and on the other hand, we have consulting services. Assurance services is involved the internal auditors' objective assessment of evidence to provide opinion, conclusion regarding an entity operation, function, process, system, or subject matter. And who will be involved in these assurance services? Basically, we have process owner, who is the person or group directly involved with the entity, operation, function, process, and the system. The user is a person or group using the assessment, and the internal auditors is making the assessment. And the nature and scope of the assurance services or assurance engagement are determined by the internal auditors. And the area of the assessment comprises of financial, performance, compliance, system security, and due diligence. Let's look into the consulting services. Consulting services are advisory in nature, perform audit activity at specific request of an engagement client, and the purpose is to add value, improve organization governance, risk management control, processes without internal auditor assumption of management responsibility. And who will be involved in consulting services? Basically, we have internal auditor is the person or group which is offering advice when performing consulting services. The internal auditors should maintain objectivity and not assume. Whereas engagement client is the person or group seeking and receiving advice. The nature and scope of consulting engagement are determined to agreement with engagement client. And how the consulting services being conducted is include providing counsel, advice, facilitation, and training. And what is the internal audit activity authority and responsibility? In terms of the authority, the board of directors adopt formal charter that grants sufficient authority to chief audit executive and internal audit activity. The support of management board is crucial when conflict arises between IAA and department under review. Auditing to grant access to all record to auditors. A formal charter that defines internal audit activity must be adopted. The authority granted should be sufficient. Final approval of the charter is with the board. In terms of the internal audit activity responsibility defined in charter, should provide the organization with assurance and consulting services that add value and improve organization operation. Internal audit activity must evaluate and improve effectiveness of organization governance, risk management, and control processes. Unit 3, it talks about rules of conduct, integrity. Internal auditors shall perform their work with honesty, diligence, and responsibility, shall observe the law and make closure expected by the law and profession, shall not knowingly be a party to any illegal activity, shall respect and contribute to the legitimate and ethical objective of organization. Meanwhile, the Chief Audit Executive should cultivate a culture of integrity by acting with integrity and adhering to the Code of Ethics. The CAEs establish policies and procedures to guide the internal audit activity to show diligence and responsibility. The CAEs may emphasize the importance of integrity by providing training that demonstrates integrity. Unit 4 is a rule of conduct number 2, which is objectivity. Internal auditor shall not participate in any activity or relationship that may impair or be presumed to impair their unbiased assessment. This participation includes activity may be conflict with the interest of organization. Internal auditor shall not accept anything that may impair or be presumed to impair their professional judgment. An internal auditor shall disclose all material facts known to them that, if not disclosed, may distort the reporting of activities under review. Below is a success tips about how to cater the objectivity question. The objectivity principle is frequently tested at the topic. Being able to apply rules of conduct related to objectivity to scenario will increase success on the exam. Let's look into Rule of Conduct 2.1. Excessive individual fraternizing outside of work with organization, employee, management, third-party suppliers, and vendor. Certain dealing in commercial properties, sale of services or product by internal auditor to organization, participation in non-public service organization may not be allowed. Example, serving as consultant to third party like vendor, suppliers, which organization conduct business. Performing an audit in department managed by a family member, accepting bonus based on work accomplished during audit, and assuming management responsibility and auditing an area in which the auditor has such responsibility within 1 year. Rules of Conduct 2.2. Accepting gift, meal, trade, special treatment that exceed policy limits or not disclosed and approved. And working in a non-audit position and accepting gift not permitted by the Code of Conduct. Rules of Conduct 2.3. Intention, omission of disclosures of illegal activity from final engagement, communication, withholding pertinent information, not communicating pertinent information to CAE, and distorting facts reported in final engagement communication. Unit 5 is talk about rules of conduct, confidentiality. Internal auditors shall be prudent in the use of protection of information acquired in the course of their audit. Internal auditor shall not use information for any personal gain or in any matter that would be contrary to the law or detrimental to the legitimate and ethical objective of organization. Organizations usually issue information security policy to protect the data that acquire use, produced to ensure compliance with the law and regulation related to the industry and jurisdiction which they operate. Internal auditor to take following precautions to protect proprietary information, policy and procedure when handling information internally. Collect only data required to perform engagement and use only for engagement intended purposes. Protect information from intentional or unintentional disclosure through the use of control such as data encryption, email distribution restriction physical access to information, and have to eliminate copies of access to such data when it is no longer needed. Rules of Conduct 3.2 emphasize that internal auditor must not use any information for personal gain. Example, internal auditor should not use insider financial, strategic, or operational knowledge of an organization to bring about personal financial gain by purchasing or selling shares in the organization. Another example is releasing insider knowledge to journalists via media without proper authorization, using insider information to develop a competitive product, or selling proprietary information to competitor also violate confidentiality rules. Internal auditors should not abuse their privilege to access information such as using access to customer record to look up their neighbor recent purchases or to view the health records of celebrity. Below is some of the example questions that related to confidentiality. Let's look one by one. Example, conformance with the confidentiality rules, which are the following violate the IIA Code of Ethics. First, investigation at lead salesperson expend report based on rumor of overstatement. The answer is, investigating potential instances of fraud is within the internal audit is a normal responsibility and it is not a violation. Question number 2, purchasing stock in a target organization after reading company report that it may be acquired. Remember, rules of conduct 3.2 emphasize that IA must not use any information for personal gain. The answer for this would be, rules of conduct 3.2 states that internal auditor shall not use information for any personal gain, and the stock purchase is a violation. And question number 3 is disclosing confidential information in response to a court order. And the answer, the principle of confidentiality permit the disclosure of confidential information given a legal or professional obligation to do so. So this disclosure is not a violation. Let's look into the Unit 6 that talk about rules of conduct, competency. Internal auditors shall engage only those services for which they have necessary knowledge, skill, and experience. Internal auditors shall perform internal audit services in accordance with international standard for professional practice of internal auditing. Internal auditors shall continually improve proficiency and effectiveness and quality of their services. Further guide on competency is provided in Implementation Guide Code of Ethics Competency. Conformance with competency is demonstrated when CAE may demonstrate a culture supportive of competency and continual improvement of proficiency, effectiveness, quality through evidence. Engagement has been properly supervised, feedback solicited from internal audit stakeholders and sufficiently considered, performance review of internal auditors conducted regularly. Opportunity for training, mentoring, professional education, quality assurance and improvement program, internal audit services are performed in performance with IPPF mandatory guidance. Internal auditors maintain documentation of skill assessment, a plan for professional development, and the completions of continuing professional education development and course of training. Let's look into Unit 7 that talk about internal audit charter. Attribute Standard 1000, Purpose, Authority and Responsibility describe about IAA must formally define in internal audit charter, which consists of mission of internal audit and mandatory elements of IPPF. CAE must periodically review the internal audit charter and present it to senior management and board. Interpretation of Standard 1000 describe about internal audit charter is a formal document define IAA, purpose, authority and responsibility, define CAE functional reporting relationship with board, authorize access to record personal physical properties relevant to performance of engagement and define scope, IAA. Final approval of internal audit charter reside with the board. Implementation Standard 1000.A1, the nature of assurance services provided to the organization must be defined in internal audit charter. If assurance to be provided to party outside the organization, this assurance must also define in internal audit charter. Implementation Standard 1000.C1 is talk about the nature of consulting services must be defined in internal audit charter. For the attribute standard 1010, recognizing mandatory guidance in internal audit charter is the mandatory nature of core principle for professional practice of internal auditing. Code of ethics standard definition of internal auditing must be recognized in internal audit charter. CAA should discuss mission of internal audit and mandatory elements of IPPF with senior management and board. All right, that is all for today, everyone. If you find this video is helpful for your CIA examination preparation, make sure click the subscribe button and bell notification so you'll not miss any update from us about upcoming videos. Be sure to comment down below what you have learned in today's lesson.